This cornerstone, this solid ground, firm through the fiercest drought and storm. What heights of love, what depths of peace, when fears are still, when striving cease. My comforter, my all in all, here in the love of Christ I stand, in Christ alone, who took on flesh, fullness of God in helpless babe. This gift of love and righteousness, scorned by the ones he came to save, till on that cross as Jesus died, the wrath of God was satisfied. For every sin on him was laid. Here in the death of Christ I live. There in the ground his body lay. Light of the world by darkness slain. Then bursting forth in glorious day, up from the grave he rose again. And as he stands in victory, since curse has lost its grip on me, for I am his and he is mine, bought with the precious blood of Christ. No guilt in life, no fear in death. This is the power of Christ in me, from life's first cry to final breath. Jesus commands my destiny. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand. No power of hell, no scheme of man can ever pluck me from his hand, till he returns or calls me home. Here in the power of Christ I'll stand.
Hello again, everybody. Hope your week's going well. I want us to look a little while this evening at some passages that, again, I have highlighted in my Bible. Still, until we can all meet together again and maybe come up with some new material, you're doomed to listen to all of my favorite passages. So if they're favorites of yours, that's great. If they're not, I hope that you can get something out of them, because they're the ones that are my go-to passages when I'm studying my Bible, and maybe some things in my life need to be addressed depending on where I happen to be in my life. I want us to look at 3 short verses in James tonight, just for a few minutes. Some things that James lays out that are so important and contemporary. And the book of James, the reason I like it so much is because it has so many practical applications, not for just first century Christians, but for 21st century Christians. So the first one I want to read is James chapter 1 and verse 16. James says, "Don't be deceived, my dear brothers. Every good and perfect gift is from above, coming down from the Father of heavenly lights, who does not change like shifting shadows." You know, we have so many good things in this life. And again, circumstances being what they are right now, and the state of affairs in our nation and world right now, sometimes it's easy to forget how many good things we have. I have, and I've even expressed to you on some of these videos, how we go to the store now, a little disappointed that some of the things that I was so used to buying before that I considered necessary staples, well, they're just not there anymore. Well, you think about it, and I could say to myself, bless my heart. Because all of the things that we have in our refrigerator and our pantry right now, just last week, I was opening up the refrigerator, looking in there, and acting like I didn't have anything to eat, and there's more food in there. We could probably, if we didn't go to the groceries for the next month, had enough stuff in our pantry and our refrigerators to be fine. My dogs probably eat better than most people in the world do. So these are good and perfect gifts. We forget about that. James says, don't be deceived. These good and perfect things, if it's good and perfect in your life, whether it's your family, whether it's your job, whether it's the house you live in, or being able to take a hot shower at night, or heat in the winter and an air condition in the summer, yeah, all those things. Anything in your life that you consider to be good and perfect, it comes from God. That's where it comes from. All of the things that we have. Do we need all of those things? No. Does God bless us more in abundance than we really deserve? Yeah, way more. But again, James, the point he's trying to make here is if it's good and if it's perfect, it comes from God. Now, having said that, and I talked about some physical things of this life that are really immaterial, these are the things that James is really talking about, good and perfect. James is talking about what Paul dwells on so much in some of his letters. He's talking about love. He's talking about hope and faith. He's talking about truth, things that are noble, things that are lovely, those things that are good and perfect. Yes, flowers, birds singing, the sunshine, those are good and perfect gifts that God gives to everybody. But he gives Christians even more than that. And James says, don't be deceived, my dear brothers. Every good and perfect gift comes down from the Father of lights. And then he goes so far as to say, there's no shadow with him. There's no deal that you've got to cut on the side. There's not something special that you've got to do. God doesn't require any of that. He says that he is without shadow. There is no variableness. He doesn't change. He's not shifting. He's not vacillating back and forth, where you're trying to decide where this good and perfect gift is coming from. It's always there. It's always available. The next thing, in James chapter 1, in verse 27, and this is one of my favorite passages. James says, religion that God the Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. There are some passages in the Bible that just stand alone. This is one of them. Again, I've mentioned before, when I was a boy, all of my memory work was done from the King James. The King James reads, pure religion and undefiled before God the Father is this. Pure and undefiled religion. Isn't that what we all want to do? Practice pure and undefiled religion? And then he goes so far as to say, and that's why this passage is so profound. Lee, if you want to practice pure and undefiled religion, then take care of folks that can't take care of themselves. Take care of children that don't have parents. Take care of people that don't have husbands or wives or are not able to pay their bills or fend for themselves. And then keep yourself unpolluted or unspotted, as the King James would say, from the world. There's the trick, to keep yourself unspotted from the world. I had a lesson on Sunday, if you recall, from Proverbs, what Solomon basically was telling the young man that he was giving advice to. Make your paths straight, make them level, make them firm. But the first thing he mentions that we talked about on Sunday was, be careful what you think about, be careful what you consume, what you put in your head. If it's something, whether it's a video game or a movie or television or whatever it is, if it's something that's going to take you down and draw you further and further away from God and those things that are good and perfect, then don't do that. It's pretty simple. Take care of folks that can't take care of themselves. Keep yourself unspotted from the world. And next, and again, one of my favorites, chapter 2 and verse 12, James says, speak and act as those who are going to be judged by the law that gives freedom. Because judgment without mercy will be shown to anyone who has not been merciful. Mercy triumphs over judgment. At the end of the day and at the end of our lives, there are some things that we really, really need and should crave. The one is forgiveness. And the forgiveness factor is joined at the hips with what James just says here, mercy. Be careful about being so judgmental as to eliminate the quality of mercy. We need all the mercy that we can get. Everybody on the face of this planet needs mercy and forgiveness. Love, of course, is the dominating factor that holds the world together, that really created the world and holds us together as a people, as God's people. But mercy is something that we need so desperately from God. And true mercy is shown by people who love. James says it best: mercy triumphs over judgment. I don't want to be judged harshly. I have too many things that will cause me serious problems if that's the case. I want to be judged with a flavor of mercy. And the other thing that's important for us to remember in order to maintain this merciful judgment, or to administer it to folks around us and to try to receive it from them, and most importantly from God, is to keep our hearts and minds in tune with those things that promote mercy. I won't read it again, and you can read it later, but again, a couple of weeks ago I had a lesson from Philippians chapter 4, I believe it's in verse 8. Paul stresses again all of the things that we need to think about: noble things, things that are admirable, things that are lovely, things of good report, those kind of things. If we can maintain a thought pattern of that, and a daily consumption of that, to counter all the things that are in the world, mercy will come pretty easy. We'll be able to give it, and we'll be able to receive it. That's the lesson for tonight. I hope the rest of your week goes good. And Lord willing, I'll see you again Sunday morning. Maybe one day soon, we'll all be able to meet together again face to face. Thanks.